everybody. Dear Dr. Reham, dear colleagues, this is Muhammad Abdullah Lutfi, and I'm enrolled in the Consumer Behavior course, DOE branch. So, today I'll be talking about a research entitled How Visual Attention to Social Media Cues Impacts Visit Intention and Liking Expectations for Restaurants. So, why is this research paper important? Actually, it's important, fun, and interesting. But why? Many research papers and studies discuss the importance and the effects of social media and digital marketing in general on the sales and the popularity of restaurants. But very few papers discussed the importance of the viewing behaviors or viewing patterns of the customers to the social media elements. So, what do I mean by social media elements? I mean the picture of the restaurant, the overall rating, the detailed rating, the food, the service, the quality, the location of the restaurant. Okay, so all these are called social media elements or social media cues on the online page of the restaurant. And in this research paper, we will be talking about TripAdvisor. Why TripAdvisor? Because simply it's among the most influential social media platforms regarding food and restaurants, and it heavily affects the decision of the customer whether to visit this restaurant or not. Okay, so before viewing the research questions, which we will be answering throughout this video, inshallah, I want to highlight some terminology regarding this research paper. So first of all, the content on the TripAdvisor page is either user-generated content, UGC, or firm-generated content, FGC. So simply the user-generated content is content written by other customers or users who, for example, visited the restaurant before and they are writing their opinion or their experience with the restaurants. While the firm-generated content is content written by the restaurant itself. Yeah. This content, either user-generated or firm-generated, has valence. It's either positive content or negative content. So positive content, like the overall rating is high, and simply negative content is like, the overall rating or the detailed rating of the restaurant is really poor. So that's the difference between the positive content and the negative content, and it applies to both user-generated content. It could be positive or negative, and the firm-generated content could be also positive or negative. This research paper aims to answer three main questions. The first question is, does the valence of the user-generated or the firm-generated content affect the viewing pattern or the viewing behavior of the customer? That's the first question. The second question is, what social media elements or cues tend to impact the customers in terms of liking the restaurants or at least having an intention to visit this restaurant? The third question is, what social media elements or cues that grab the initial attention of the customer. So to answer these research questions, the researchers created online review pages that look like TripAdvisor. The participants were viewed the restaurant on the online review pages for 30 seconds, then they were redirected to a survey, an online survey, to tell their opinion about the restaurant, whether they liked it or not. Also, there are some eye measuring metrics that I want to highlight, like TTFF, time to first fixation, which means when I look at the online review page like TripAdvisor, when I look, for example, at the picture of the restaurant, how much time does it take to take my eye off this picture? This is the time for the first fixation, or time to the first fixation. Also, the revisits means how many times do I re-look again at the picture of the restaurant. That's another terminology regarding the eye measuring metrics. So it's the TTFF, the time to the first fixation, and the number of revisits. How many times do I look at the picture, for example, again? Okay, so regarding question 1, which was, does the valence of the user-generated or the firm-generated content affect the viewing patterns or the viewing behaviors of the customers? So actually, there was no significant effect or impact of the valence on the viewing patterns of the customers. But there were specific and very non-significant changes. So for example, regarding the location of the restaurant, when the valence was positive, when for example, the overall rating of the restaurant or reputation of the restaurant was positive, was good, the TTFF, the time to first fixation, and the number of revisits for the location of the restaurant, okay, was much higher than that of a negative valence content. That's for example. But in general, it was found that there was no significant impact or effect of the different social media content valence, either positive or negative, on the viewing pattern or the viewing behavior of the customers. Now, regarding research question 2, which was, which social media cues or elements tend to impact the customers in terms of liking the restaurant or having an intention to visit the restaurant? They found that the pictures of the restaurant and the detailed opinions like the food, the service, were the most social media cues that affected the customers in terms of liking the restaurant and having an intention to visit the restaurant. They also found that, surprisingly, in the positive valence social media content, they found that increasing the time to the first fixation, remember the TTFF, in looking for the pictures of the restaurant, they found that increasing the TTFF in the positive valence content decreased the liking expectations and the intention to visit the restaurant, and vice versa. Like in the negative valence content, if the restaurant is poor, the rating is not that good, it's poor, they found that increasing the time to the first fixation when I see the picture of the restaurant, they found that it led to an increase in the liking expectations and the intentions to visit this restaurant. Why? This is really surprising, yet it's explainable. Why? So for example, let's take the case of the negative valence content. So as I told you, in the negative valence content, increasing the time to the first fixation, looking at the picture of the restaurant, led to an increase in the liking expectations. Why? Because simply the customers saw that in the negative valence content, they saw that the restaurant is having a poor rating and opinions are not that good, but they found that the picture is actually good and they would like to give a chance to this restaurant. They would like to give it a try. They say like, why? The picture is really good. The food is not that bad. I think so. It's not that bad. So why not give it a chance? So that's why. That's why in the negative valence content, the increasing the time to the first fixation led to an increase in the liking expectations and the intention to visit the restaurant. Okay, now finally research question 3, which was, which social media cues or elements tend to grab the initial attention of the customers? They found that the pictures followed by the detailed opinions, like I told you before, the food, the service, these two were the first and the most important social media cues that grab the initial attention of the customers. And they found that the third-party advertisements was for sure the last to grab the initial attention of the customers. So in conclusion, social media is becoming more and more influencing, and that's why it's really important to study and to analyze the viewing behaviors and the viewing patterns of the customers on the online review pages like TripAdvisor. At the end, thank you for listening, and I hope this research paper was fun, fruitful, and interesting for you. Thank you so much.